Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story about family, ownership, and the ultimate, satisfying act of revenge. We've all felt overlooked, right? The person who always does the work, always pays the bill, but never gets the credit. Well, meet Maya. Her family has this beautiful tradition, an annual Christmas gathering at their remote cabin. But for years, this tradition was ruined by her entitled sister, Chloe, who treated Maya like she was nothing more than a servant. This year, Chloe decided to take her cruelty to a whole new level, humiliating Maya in front of the entire family. What Chloe didn't know was that Maya had been preparing for this moment for years, holding a secret that would instantly shatter Chloe's world and reclaim what was rightfully hers. Grab your tea, because the way this whole situation unravels is absolutely spectacular. Let's get started. Sorry, this cabin's for real family only, my sister smirked, handing me the keys to the shed. I smiled and said, that's fine. But as the landlord, I'm evicting everyone. My sister, Chloe, has always treated me like I'm about 3 steps below her on the evolutionary ladder. Growing up, she was the golden child, beautiful, charming, and always the favorite of our mother. I was the quiet one, the nerd, the sensible one. The one who, naturally, became the family's financial safety net and handyman when our dad passed away 5 years ago. The centerpiece of our family life was always the cabin. It's this gorgeous, remote place nestled by a lake, where we spent every single Christmas since I was a kid. Dad loved that place more than anything. When he died, the cabin was technically split 3 ways, 40% to me, 40% to Chloe, and 20% to our mother, Jane. But technically is the key word here. See, Chloe has expensive taste and zero income, relying on a string of investing opportunities that never pay off. Mom, God bless her, is just financially illiterate and completely incapable of handling property management. The cabin, which needed constant upkeep, roof repairs, utility bills, snow plowing, you name it, became my responsibility. I paid for 90% of the maintenance, the taxes, and even the mortgage payments for Mom's 20% share, which she quickly fell behind on. I never asked for recognition, I just wanted the cabin to be preserved. It was Dad's legacy. Chloe, however, acted like she owned the whole damn place. She scheduled the family gatherings, she delegated chores, always to me, and she dictated who was allowed to come. Every year, she'd remind me that the annual Christmas trip was her event, and I was just lucky to be invited. This year was worse than usual. I had been working non-stop, running my own successful graphic design business, and I told Chloe I was exhausted. But family is family, right? So I drove up 3 days early, hauled all the firewood, fixed the broken pipe under the sink, a lovely burst thanks to the early cold snap, and stocked the kitchen. I didn't see Chloe until Christmas Eve. She arrived with a posse of her new, very wealthy friends, all driving matching luxury SUVs, looking down their noses at my beaten-up pickup truck. The moment she saw me hauling a massive tub of groceries out of the back of my truck, she didn't say hello or thank you. She just looked at my old flannel jacket and sighed dramatically. Maya, darling. You really should upgrade your wardrobe. You look like you're perpetually waiting for the lumberjack convention. Her friends giggled. I just smiled tightly and said, it's warm. Dinner that night was a nightmare. Chloe talked exclusively to her friends, loudly discussing their trips to the Amalfi Coast and their investments in cryptocurrency, deliberately ignoring me whenever I tried to join in. When Mom asked me about my business, Chloe cut her off. Oh, Mom, Maya's just doing her little drawings. It's not nearly as exciting as what Mark does. Mark was one of her friends, a hedge fund manager who looked like he was allergic to fresh air. I felt that familiar tightness in my chest, the sense of being diminished by my own family. The final straw came when we were assigning rooms. The cabin has 3 main bedrooms, plus a spacious loft. Chloe always takes the master. This year, because she had her wealthy friends with her, she claimed all 3 bedrooms for her group. That left the loft for Mom and me. Fine, It was cozy. But then, Chloe handed me a separate key. "Oh, Maya, I made an executive decision," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, her voice dripping with condescension. "The loft is going to be Mom's retreat this year. She needs her space, bless her heart. And, honestly," she leaned in conspiratorially, "you tend to snore. So, I cleaned out the old storage shed for you. It's perfectly adequate for a short stay. More privacy, really." She winked at her friends, who smirked. The shed. The unheated, concrete floor shed where we stored the snow shovels and rusty tools. It was freezing out there. "The shed?" I asked, my voice dangerously level. "Yes, darling," Chloe chirped, placing the key in my hand. "It's rustic. You like rustic, right? Besides, this cabin gathering is really about celebrating true family bonds. The rest of us need the space. Sorry, but this cabin's for real family only." She punctuated the sentence with a smirk that felt like a slap. I looked down at the rusty key in my palm, then at my mother, who just avoided my gaze and fussed with a centerpiece. She didn't defend me. She never did. She was just relieved Chloe hadn't dumped her in the shed. Something in me snapped. Not violently, but completely. All the years of carrying this family's weight, all the disrespect, all the financial burden, came crashing down. They saw me as nothing more than a glorified servant, someone they could toss aside once they were done using me. I looked up, took a deep breath, and slid the shed key into my pocket. I then reached into the internal pocket of my flannel jacket and pulled out a clean white legal envelope. I opened it slowly, deliberately, pulling out the official documents within. "That's fine, Chloe," I said, my voice cutting through the suddenly quiet room. "I'm perfectly happy to take the shed. But before I go, there's a little piece of information I think everyone needs to know." Chloe looked utterly confused. "What is this, Maya? Some kind of weird protest?" I ignored her, looking instead at Mom, whose face was slowly draining of color. She knew. She had to have known. A few years ago, I began, folding the documents neatly in my hand, when Dad left 40% of this cabin to Chloe and 20% to you, Mom, he was very clear. If either of you defaulted on the mortgage or failed to pay the property taxes for 12 consecutive months, that share would transfer to the remaining party who took over the full financial responsibility. A ripple of nervous energy went through the room. Chloe was starting to look genuinely worried. "What are you talking about, Maya? We haven't defaulted on anything." "Oh, but you have, Chloe," I said gently. "You and Mom defaulted nearly 3 years ago. Remember how I just quietly started covering the entire mortgage, property taxes, and all the maintenance costs? I did that, not out of the goodness of my heart, but to protect Dad's legacy." I paused, letting the implication sink in. When Mom failed to make her payments for 14 months straight, her 20% transferred to me. I simply signed the papers and assumed the debt. Mom finally looked up, her eyes wide with panic. "Maya, stop it. That's private." "It became less private," I continued, "when I signed the final documents last month. You see, Chloe, your 40% share was contingent on you paying your share of the taxes and upkeep. You haven't contributed a single dollar since Dad died, relying instead on me to handle everything. Your portion was placed in default 6 months ago." Chloe looked like she'd been slapped. "You're lying. Dad would never do that." "Oh, he did," I said, pointing to the paperwork. "It's all right here. Dad knew neither of you would ever put the work in, Chloe. He knew I would. So, when I made the final balloon payment on the remaining mortgage last month, I didn't just solidify my 60% ownership. I bought out the remaining 40% from the bank, which was tied to your name. I let the documents drop onto the antique wooden table. As of 2 weeks ago, I am the sole owner of this property. 100%. The deed is in my name." The silence was deafening. Chloe's face went from smug to purple with rage. Her rich friends looked deeply uncomfortable, trying to melt into the mahogany paneling. "You scheming little witch!" Chloe finally shrieked, jumping out of her chair. "You stole my inheritance." "No, Chloe," I corrected her, still calm. "I earned it. You lost it. There's a difference. You saw this cabin as a place to party and demand service. I saw it as Dad's legacy and a mountain of debt I had to manage." I picked up the paper and looked at my sister, whose facade had completely cracked. "Now, about my compensation." "Compensation," she hissed. "What more do you want?" "I want the respect I deserve," I said simply. "Which I'm clearly never going to get. You just handed me the key to the unheated shed and announced that this cabin is for real family only. And my mother said nothing." "Well, I agree with you, Chloe. This cabin is for family. And unfortunately, neither you nor Mom have treated me like family for years. You've treated me like a convenience." I placed my hands flat on the table, leaning in slightly. "So, here's the deal. Since I am the landlord, and since you, your friends, and my mother are currently trespassing on my private property, I am revoking your invitation. Effective immediately." Chloe blinked. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," I announced clearly, looking around the stunned table, "that I am evicting everyone. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to pack your bags and leave. All of you. Including Mom." Mom finally found her voice, shrill and desperate. "Maya, you can't be serious. It's Christmas. You should have thought about that before allowing your daughter to treat me like trash, Mom," I said, feeling my heart ache but my resolve hold firm. "I spent the last 2 years carrying your financial load, and you repaid me by watching me get thrown into a storage shed on Christmas Eve. I'm done being your savior." Chloe started screaming, a mixture of threats and frantic pleas. "You are not throwing us out. I'm calling a lawyer." "Go ahead," I said, gesturing to the folder. "The law is on my side. I have every signed document, every cancelled check, and the fully executed deed. And if you're not gone by 9 a.m. tomorrow, I will be calling the county sheriff for removal. You want to know what it feels like to be truly shut out, Chloe? You're about to find out." I stood up, pushing my chair back. I walked over to the thermostat and cranked the heat all the way up, a small, defiant action that felt surprisingly good. Then I walked out of the room, leaving the entire family, plus Chloe's horrified friends, in stunned silence. I didn't go to the shed. I went to the master bedroom, the one Chloe had claimed. I locked the door, opened the window a crack to let out the stuffy perfume smell, and crawled into the giant four-poster bed. I fell asleep to the sound of increasingly frantic whispers and slamming doors. The next morning, I woke up around 8:30 a.m. to silence. Complete, utter silence. I got up, stretched, and walked downstairs. The cabin was spotless. All of Chloe's expensive luggage was gone. The only things left were a few notes on the kitchen counter. One from Mom, scrawled on a napkin, "You have hurt us deeply. We will never forgive you for this." I crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. The other was from Chloe, a long, poorly spelled rant about betrayal, family loyalty, and how I was clearly jealous of her success. It ended with, "We'll see you in court, Maya." I just smiled. My lawyers were ready. I poured myself a cup of coffee, walked out onto the porch, and watched the sunrise paint the fresh snow gold. I finally had the cabin to myself. It was the best, most peaceful Christmas I'd had in years. Chloe did try to sue. Her lawyer was shut down within 48 hours when my team presented the overwhelming financial documentation and the fully executed deed. She had zero standing. Mom called me relentlessly for 3 weeks, alternating between tearful apologies and furious demands that I'd do the right thing and give Chloe back her share. I blocked both their numbers. The cabin is mine now. Dad's legacy is protected. I spent the rest of that Christmas alone, perfectly content, knowing I had finally freed myself from years of entitlement and disrespect. I finally realized that sometimes, the only way to get back what you deserve is to take away what they think they deserve. Wow. Just wow. The sheer satisfaction of watching that entire entitled facade crumble is unparalleled. Maya handled that situation with such calm and meticulous planning. Now, I have to ask you, the viewers, do you think Maya went too far by evicting her mother on Christmas morning? Or was this the necessary, ultimate form of revenge to finally cut off a toxic relationship? Let me know your honest thoughts and reactions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this incredible story, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.